Hello and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. My name is Mayor Watt. That's my site. I run ohmTown.com. What is ohmTown? News aggregation site. Man, I thought I was going to do this really smooth as butter, but that didn't quite happen, did it? No. Who knows? Maybe never will. Anyway, ohmTown.com is a news aggregation site, but it also has what I hope will eventually be a community. Started it open to the public at the beginning of the year. News gets thrown into 6 categories: create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology in those 50 shows. I hope to bring all of those shows to Twitch. After I do a show, I chew it up, throw it over to YouTube, make a podcast out of it, a podcast episode. I'm actually behind a day because I couldn't do it yesterday. I couldn't process everything yesterday. Very frustrated about that. Sorry about that. But today is another day. There's always some more news. I just refreshed the page, so hopefully by the end of this episode, this show, and the 20 or so articles that I have pulled from the news throughout the day, we'll have some more news. Again, I'm always making modifications to the site, so if it breaks, I apologize, but it is what it is. It happens. So with that in mind, let's get on with the first article. And the first article is over in the Word and Tech channel. There you go in chat. The first autonomous X-ray analyzing AI is cleared in the EU. I've read about this periodically over the years, different artificial intelligence programs, machine learning programs that analyze X-rays, and they are seen as being more capable than a radiologist. And because it's automated, you don't have to wait for a radiologist to verify the information. That said, there's always a radiologist involved because there is no way really to, I don't know. The liability, the risk for a false positive or false negative is too great. So there's always going to be somebody that's looking at these things. But when a radiologist is costing an organization $400,000, maybe this can open it up to lowering that cost. The conversations that I've had today about this whole merging of business technology and society. Maybe I can get into it with these articles, but we'll see. But in this particular instance, this is focusing on X-rays. So let's click this link. It says it's the tool is called Chest Link. It scans chest X-rays and automatically sends patient reports on those that it sees as totally healthy with no abnormalities. But this is big because the first time that I read something about this was probably 18 years ago, something like that. And then there was a lot of people poo-pooing the idea of this taking place. But let's click this link and take us over to The Verge. Nicole Wetzman is the author of this article. And radiologists are costing organizations $400,000 a year or so. Still cheaper than not knowing. But obviously this higher price is adding to the higher price for the consumer on the end, finding out if they've got something. And it says here, an artificial intelligence tool that reads chest x-rays without oversight from a radiologist got regulatory clearance in the European Union last week, a first for a fully autonomous medical imaging AI, the company called Oxipit said in a statement. It's a big milestone for AI and likely to be contentious, as radiologists have spent the last few years pushing back on efforts to fully automate parts of their job. I've said this in previous episodes. There isn't a single job short of, I'd say, preschool and kindergarten age teachers, and obviously parents, but it is impossible to teach a human being how to be human without it being very closely tied to a human being. And when parents have to work and those kids have to go to preschool, kindergarten, daycare, you're not going to automate that. Primarily because there is no empathy. There's no anima there. There's no human there. Not to mention, even if you were to distance yourself from the emotional aspect of it, there's no fine motor skills. So it's going to be very difficult to take care of a kid, right? Why am I going down that road and not just talking about this article? It's because it's a deeper understanding. There's a lot of people that are, as far as rightfully or not, they're upset that automation is taking jobs. But it's going to happen. It's inevitable. You cannot stop automation because the people that have the means to make automation take jobs want greater profits. And the single most expensive thing in revenue generation is the human being. You can't have ever increasing margins without getting rid of the human, because it is the one thing that has to get compensated and has insurance and blah, 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 blah. Eventually, the haves will remove the humans and they will remain the have-nots, so to speak, which really sucks for us have-nots. Now, this tool, ChestLink, automatically sends patient reports on those that it sees as totally healthy with no abnormalities. Any images that the tool flags as having a potential problem are sent to a radiologist for a review, like I said. So this, up here it says that it was without oversight from a radiologist. And that's not true. Every time there is something that has been flagged in the past has always been sent to another radiologist for a review. Maybe I can get into the other aspect of this. It's a little more personal, so we'll talk about it if maybe at some other date. Anyway, the tech now has a CE mark certification for the EU, which signals that a device meets safety standards. The certification is similar to the Food and Drug Administration clearance in the United States, but with different metrics. So this is awesome, I think, and it eliminates the additional time necessary for a radiologist to see what amounts to a healthy patient. And if that allows the subject matter expert to see more people that are sick and verify what's going on, kudos. I'm all for it. Let automation be good for what it's good for, and let's make sure that doctors are doing what they can, which is keeping or making ill people healthy versus just talking with people that are healthy already. This next article, nobody ever calls me until I'm doing a stream. So this next article is in the Word and Tech, test riding Van Moofs. If you've never heard of Van Moof, get ready. So it sounds like a weird name, but check it out. Test riding Van Moof's new S5 and A5 e-bikes. The new Van Moof S5 and A5 step-through e-bikes. Now, I haven't seen this yet. I just know about Van Moof because I was actually looking at one of their bikes. Let's click the link. Beforehand, I'm going to grab the article and throw it in to chat. So this is an article over at The Verge. Thomas Ricker is the author, And those, let me just scroll back up. Those are the bikes. Seems pretty. I don't know. Normal, right? But they're e-bikes, and everything is stealthed inside. I think it's a pretty spectacular design. It's pretty neat. Pretty neat. So it says Van Moof just announced its latest premium electric bikes, the full-size S5 with 27.5-inch wheels and the smaller A5 with 24-inch wheels, and in a first for the company, a step-through frame. They bring a host of refinements as Van Moof attempts to capitalize on surging demand for e-bikes from first-time buyers, even as it raises prices above the emotional $2,000 threshold. Yes, these bikes cost $2,000. Pretty amazing. Just going to show a little bit of the pictures. I'm not really going to read the whole article here on the stream, but I'll show you some of these pictures here so that you can take a look at it. It's essentially a smart bike. It's pretty cool. You know, doesn't look very overwhelming, very approachable. Without looking too hard at it, you would never even know that it's an e-bike. You know, it's pretty amazing. You put fatter wheels on this thing, and it's one of those big wheel beachcomber type bikes. I mean, it just looks like a thicker frame bike. And I dig it, but then and now I couldn't justify, thousands of dollars for a bike. But if you are interested in a premium electric bike, with what seems like a passionate group of people that are interested in it, Van Moof is the way to go. So go over to The Verge and read more about it. It's an interesting bike. So this next article is streaming just becoming cable again? Julia Alexander thinks so. Apparently, Julia Alexander is the senior strategy analyst at Parrot Analytics, a company that helps streaming companies do better at streaming. It almost sounds like a marketing report, but she also hosts the Downstream podcast, which is about the business of streaming. And I'm going to click the link just to take us over to The Verge. Now, this is an article by Neely Patel, the old school online journalist, Neely Patel. So still in the game after all these years, I suppose. So Julia Alexander says, on one side, Apple just won. Well, actually, the article says, on the one side, Apple just won the Oscar for Best Picture in a film it bought out of Sundance called Coda. Amazon now owns MGM. Netflix is investing in games and hinting at advertising for the first time. That's just the first paragraph of a part of this article. But I just want to throw in there that Apple's throwing around $100 million for shows on Apple TV. This is pretty intense spending for a show. Let me scroll down here. The article also says, I feel like this pattern of the visionary CEO who leaves and then hands it over to the best operator of his crew instead of another visionary is fairly common. I would actually make the direct comparison to Apple. Steve Jobs is the visionary. He hands over the company to Tim Cook, who's an operator. Tim Cook is massively successful as a CEO if you measure the business performance of Apple, obviously, but there's no one running around saying Tim Cook is a product visionary. Yeah, well, he's doing a bang-up job. So let's see if there's anything else in here. So I don't know. They don't really. I'm scanning over this article, and it doesn't really seem like it's talking too much about this idea of streaming being cable. Let me scroll back up. Maybe I'm grabbing this in the wrong way. Is streaming just becoming cable again? I don't know. Um, I don't see how they're talking about it, but I'll give you my take on this. I think that streaming is becoming cable in that we have gotten to the point where everything is siloed. There are dozens of apps that provide services into these organizations that used to license it to cable TV channels. And so it would appear in the library of a particular channel, and then the license would end and it wouldn't be presented anymore. And the same thing happens on Netflix. The same thing happens on Hulu and everywhere else, really. Like BritBox is another one, and Crunchyroll is another one. There's licensing terms that allow somebody to stream all of these things. The problem is that you never know where it's going to end, what is going to end up where. I am watching a 10-year-old show called Vera. Absolutely stunning show. I love every single episode of it. I have yet to look at or watch an episode and go, that one's lackluster. All of them have been awesome, right? Well, halfway through the series, it suddenly ends up on a completely different app. And then 2 episodes later, I'm back on BritBox, and I'm wondering what the heck is going on here. But I have to go wherever it leads me, because if I want to watch the whole series, I have to subscribe to 2 different apps. And I'm waiting for the regular episodes, which is season 11 or something like that, being on regular TV, and I have to go and hunt those down. I'm not sure if they're going to be on BritBox or not by the time I get to them, but in either way, it essentially is I'm subscribing to all of these services, and it becomes de facto cable TV because I'm still having to deal with whatever it is they're streaming at this particular instance. There might be money being made more for each one of these companies, but it's essentially the new channel after channel after channel. It just happens to be app after app after app. In previous episodes, I even talked about this because I said we were joking about it 25 years ago. We were joking. I remember sitting in an office that we used to call the fishbowl because it was lined with glass. And there were a bunch of us that were talking. It was me and another person who sat in this office conference area, but it was our office, and we ran a whole bunch of stuff from that bunch of projects. And we and a bunch of other people who were in the office at the time were joking about the idea that people would have to pay more to gain access to something that right now was costing us $100 for cable TV because we wanted all of the channels. But then we joked about the idea of the future because we were seeing things come online where we could just watch it. We could just do things. But then this what we joked about as being, this is conspiracy. There's no way it's going to happen like this. And we joked about it. Oh, it's going to cost $5 more to access something like Facebook, or it's going to cost $15 to access gaming websites. And here we are, to watch certain things, we have to subscribe to a bunch of different services, from music to video to books to whatever. Now it's enabling a whole lot of accessibility. Don't get me wrong, but it's essentially silo after silo after silo. And we end up having to pay $100 again because we are watching TV online instead of just having cable. And there's unskippable ads, or even more so direct tracking, arguably. Just to let you know, your internet access provider knows more about you than any website, including Google, because you're going through their DNS. If you're using somebody else's DNS, they know more about you. So We basically are watching TV, just like cable, but now it's online. I'm not even sure what this article is saying at this point. So let's go on to the next article. This is 2 Sherlock Holmes shows in the works at HBO Max from Team Downey. Their Sherlock Holmes film universe is expanding into TV, with HBO Max currently in early development of 2 shows tied to the films, Variety has learned from sources. And the potential shows would be set in the world of 2009's Sherlock Holmes and 2011's Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. Let's click the link. Now, I'm not sure if Downey's going to be in it, but anyway, this is a article over at Variety. Joel Otterson is the author, and let's see. I'm not sure here. According to the sources, the 2 shows would focus on a new character that would be introduced in Sherlock Holmes 3. Downey Jr. and Susan Downey will executive produce the shows, along with Amanda Burrell of Team Downey. Lionel Wigram of Wigram Productions will also be executive producer, with Warner Brothers Television producing. Let's see. It'll be interesting what they do with it. Sherlock Holmes proved to be a massive hit for Warner Brothers, with the film grossing over $524 million worldwide against a reported budget of $90 million. Game of Shadows went on to gross over $543 million worldwide 2 years later, and the third film was originally intended to be released in December of 2020 before it was pushed back to 2021. With that date now come and gone, the third film does not have a release date and is not currently in production. Oh, wow. It's amazing that they can do such expensive and, to me, I mean, it's a lot of money returning on your investment. 400% return plus. Well, it depends on all of the other accounting. Well, anyway, and they do it in such a short amount of time. Sometimes it's a long-term thing, but HBO Max has been building up a roster of shows that tie into WB film franchises for some time now, is also written in this article. So if you want to read more about it, go over to Variety. There's a little bit more that you can go and check out. And let me keep on going. The next article is in the Word in Tech. This is Germany shuts down servers for Russian darknet marketplace Hydra. I've seen this Hydra before. There's some discussion in various circles about it. German authorities shut down the server infrastructure for the Russian darknet marketplace Hydra, seizing 23 million euro worth of Bitcoin in the process, Germany's Federal Crime Police Office announced on Tuesday. Hydra is a large marketplace on the dark web that serves as a hub for drugs, stolen credit card information, counterfeit bills, fake documents, and other illegal goods and services. A lot of cybersecurity circles are aware of this. The market connected with the site pushed drugs through the region by hiding them in geotagged pickup locations. Let's click this link, take us over to The Verge. Emma Roth is the author of this. Let me see if there's anything really significant for me to say, at least in the stream. In response to the shutdown, the U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control announced that it has sanctioned Hydra and Russian cryptocurrency exchange Garantex. The U.S. is also working to identify over 100 cryptocurrency addresses with ties to the illegal marketplace. Okay, y'all. It's something that I say on the regular to people. Don't try to commit any cyber crimes, particularly if you're in the United States. You won't get away with it. Maybe in the short term, yes. Maybe you can get away with it. If you do get caught and turn informant, maybe you can, save your hide by turn in states evidence, but for crying out loud, you're going to get caught in the United States. It's hit or miss if you're overseas and you get caught, quote unquote, caught by the United States. It really depends on the relationship between the country you're in and the United States law enforcement. But you're going to get caught in the United States. This article says with about 17 million customer accounts and 19,000 sellers, Germany BKA and Central Office for Combating Cybercrime say Hydra has the highest turnover rate out of any illegal market in the world, estimating a turnover of about 1.23 billion euro in 2020 alone. German authorities note that cryptocurrency transactions on Hydra are especially hard to track due to a crypto concealing service called the Bitcoin Bank Mixer. This is so blacklist. I'm amazed that there isn't some show out there that talks about this more, like part of a more mainstream media drama or something that talks about this more. But every once in a while, something like Blacklist will involve itself into an online auction site or something. But this is so so fantastically wild out there. 1 second. Had to cough. Okay, so let's continue on. I'm about halfway through today's show. The next article is in Mobile. Cash App tells millions of customers a former employee could access their data. Block, the company previously known as Square, revealed on Monday that a former employee accessed Cash App customers' information last year after they had already left the company. The revelation comes in Securities and Exchange Commission filing, which which said that the former employee downloaded certain reports, quote unquote, certain reports of the company's subsidiary Cash App Investing. Let's click this link. It takes us over to Vice.com. The article is written by Lorenzo Franceschi Biccarai. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, if you've used Cash App, you'll probably want to change your password. I have not been notified, so I'm not sure if everybody has been notified. Let's see. While this employee had regular access to the reports as part of their past job responsibilities, in this instance, these reports were accessed without permission after the employment ended. The filing read, Cash App Investing is contacting approximately 8.2 million current and former customers to provide them with the information about this incident and sharing resources with them to answer their questions. So if you were involved with Cash App Investing or Cash App, I would probably change your password. So I'm going to just jump out of this article. Again, it's Cash App tells millions of customers a former employee could access their data. And that's over at Vice. The next article, I didn't copy it and paste it. I am starting to slack again. Yeah. The next article is in the Word in Tech as well. A pleasant smell of wet soil indicates danger to bacteria-eating worms, researchers find. The smell of geosmin is unmistakable. It's the odor that permeates the air after a summer rain, squall, or fills your nose while gardening. It's the smell of wet soil, an earthy, almost comforting scent. I agree. Cut grass in particular. Let's click this link. Maybe it's different than what I'm calling cut grass, but there's no way to know until you smell something and somebody says, that's the smell of wet soil. This article is over at phys.org. It's written by Patrick. Oh man, I'm just going to ruin this name and I'm really sorry. Legtenia? Yeah. So Patrick Legtenie. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. So, Patrick, let me know. They're from Concordia University. Anyway, it says, but a new study just published in the journal Applied and Environmental Microbiology points out that the smell has also a particular purpose. It is made by certain kinds of bacteria that are known as toxin producers. This acts as a warning to C. elegans, a common type of worm, that the bacteria they are about to graze on is poisonous. The chemical is a aposematic signal that triggers the blind worm's sense of taste, just like a caterpillar's bright colors or pufferfish's spines tell a sighted predator to stay away. Just a few millimeters long, nematodes like C. elegans are tiny but found all over the earth, including Antarctica. Nematodes are also the most abundant animal on Earth, accounting for about 4/5 of the global animal population. What? Researchers often use C. elegans as a model organism in their studies because their biological systems are less complex but similar to those of humans. When somebody calls you a worm, they might be closer than you think. C. elegans. So if you flinch when you smell that wet soil, again, maybe it's ancient memory of you being C. elegans. Let's continue on to the next article and leave that one in the past. Study reveals the science behind those irresistible puppy dog eyes. This is in the Marble channel. I've got a project spinning up around Marble right now, as a matter of fact. So linking to marble.com might, no, it is changing already. So can't resist your pup's adoring expression when he begs for a treat. New studies reveal key anatomical features that could explain what makes dogs' faces so appealing. The findings also suggest that humans contributed to dogs' ability to form facial expressions through thousands of years of selective breeding. Let's click this link. It's an article that's published in phys.org by Experimental Biology. And it says here, dogs are unique from other mammals in their reciprocated bond with humans, which can be demonstrated through mutual gaze. Sometimes we do not observe between humans and other domesticated mammals, such as horses or cats, said. There's a typo in this article. Said Ann Burrows, PhD, professor of the department in the Department of Physical Therapy at Rango's School of Health Sciences at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. The study's senior author. Our preliminary findings provide a deeper understanding of the role facial expressions play in dog-human interactions and communication. I have Savannah cats, and they stare at you. They have that same gaze, but they're really dog-like. There's a little dog in the picture. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're going to have to go over to phys.org and look for this article. Science reveals irresistible puppy dog eyes, and why they are the way they are. So it says dogs and wolves are closely related, though the exact timing of it is unclear. Scientists estimate that the two species diverged genetically some 33,000 years ago as humans began selectively breeding wolves. So I suppose they're going to get into greater detail about why, but it's selective breeding in humans. Okay, so the new study focuses on the anatomy of tiny muscles used to form facial expressions called mimetic muscles. Yeah, these twitch muscles, which is different than twitch muscles on the stream. I mean, we all have them, but it's different. Anyway, it's kind of microtells. You make little twitches and move, and you're not just stagnant, and apparently dogs do it. But they've got some video here that you can go and check out. All you have to do is go over to phys.org and do a search for "Study Reveals the Science Behind Those Irresistible Puppy Dog Eyes." And I'm going to continue on so that I can get through the whole package of news I've got for y'all. This next article is in the Word in Tech. Facebook restores banned ad promoting renters' rights after tweet goes viral. In the article, a little snippet, it says Ronan Burtonshaw's publication was labeled as discriminatory and blocked from being promoted. Facebook will restore a banned advert promoting an opinion piece called calling for renters' rights after the company's automated systems blocked the post for, quote, discrimination, end quote. But critics say the error will be repeated unless Facebook acts to protect campaigners on its platform. Yeah, it's not a normal ad. On Monday, Ronan Burtonshaw, the editor of Tribune magazine, received a message from Facebook saying one of its publication's posts had been blocked from being promoted on the site. Oh, so it's an entire post, but it's not going to get promoted. Like, you can pay to promote an article. The story headline, "The Rent is Too Damn High," calls for a struggle of renters against the rentiers. And concludes that solving the housing crisis requires a massive program. Let's click the link so I can read the rest of this. This is over at The Guardian, and it's written by Alex Hearn, technology editor. Let me see. Requires a massive program of council house creation. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe people being compensated at a rate that is conducive to being an ongoing concern and being able to pay for an apartment, at least a house at best. But, this is business versus society. But at least it's being added back into the system. And hopefully some people will take notice. I mean, if rent is too high, builders need to produce more places to live. But that's at odds necessarily with economics. So good luck. Let's continue on to the next article. This is in the Wanted channel. Apple announces dates and details about a worldwide developers conference in 2022. It will be June 6th through June 10th, and confirm that'll be an online-only affair. If you're not familiar with it, basically it's an Apple-hosted event focusing more on software development. Every once in a while, they'll introduce something hardware-related, but it's primarily about the operating system and software development. Let's click the link. It'll take us over to arstechnica.com. This article is written by Samuel Axon. And, oh, that's interesting. So this, the logo for this year's WWDC announcement has, I think it's a bird, like a peace dove. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I'm not sure if that's, really what it is. Looks like it. I don't know what all is going to be. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stuff, so you're going to have to go and check it out. It says here, it'll offer developer sessions on specific topics like APIs, learning labs, digital lounges, more localized content to make WWDC 22 a truly global event. And I suppose with localization and everything being virtual, you can actually hyper focus on the locality wherever it might be for a more expanded audience engagement. We are bound by physical space until we go on to virtual space, because then it's nothing more than bandwidth, and you can always grow to meet demand. So let's continue on to the next article. This next article is a little bit more far-flung. I'm not sure what's going on with my aggregator with this article. It's all munched up, but it focuses on FAR, which is Federal Acquisition Regulations. FAR Council finalizes more stringent procurement rules under Buy American Act. I'm not sure what the result of this is going to be, this Buy American Act. There has been a Buy American Act for a while, but now things are being leaned into by American a little more. Um, I'm not sure of all of the changes or how it's going to affect government contracting. I'll click the link and I'll take you over to federalnewsnetwork.com. And it's actually an audio podcast called Federal Drive. And so you can go over to federalnewsnetwork.com and listen to this. It's an article written by Tom Temin, who runs the Federal Drive podcast, and goes into greater detail about it. But you can also read the transcript, or listen to the podcast, or click on the play button on the website. I don't know how deep into this I want to go. So it says, what about Japan? Japan is Japan and the UK, and you think of Western Europe, Australia. There's lots of countries that are on there called designated countries. We're allowed to work with certain countries. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. But essentially, the objective here is to purchase things from contractors within the United States, utilizing resources that are bound in the United States, and basically, the whole keep it American. That's something that it's a longer conversation, but essentially it's to try and keep things within the United States instead of it being flooded by ultimately things that are strategically or tactically more cost effective, more available, and not necessarily a strain for a company to get. That said, though, that means that value goes out of the United States, even if the benefit, the product, is cheaper, better margin, because production here in the United States means it costs more. It just is. We have more regulation. We have a higher cost of living. It depends on where the product comes from, though. So let's continue on. I got another article that's related to Far Weekly, which is a show that I want to put together that, or is on the books for coming to Twitch, that talks about federal acquisition regulations, government contracting, things like this here, what the 2023 fiscal budget will look like for contractors. Again, this is something that you'll have to go and listen to. It says here, the president and CEO of the Professional Services Council, David Berto, and they are talking with that person. Tom Temin is talking with that person, and they say, let's see here, David, I imagine in your days at the Pentagon, you helped prepare a budget or two. And that person responds with, we did, and none of them were $800 billion, which is what the defense portion of the president's proposed fiscal year 2023 budget comes into play. So this is not going to be a small budget. And I had just heard now that student loan repayment may be paused until August. I'm not sure what is supposed to happen now, but we shall see. Let's see. Well, first, it's a $5 trillion budget, but the majority of that is entitlements such as Social Security and Medicare. So it's really about 1.5, 1.6. That's for government operations. So they go into some greater detail about what's being spent where, and in particular, government contracting. But again, this is a deeper conversation, much longer, and that's why I want to do a show so that we can talk about it and try and stamp out some of the misperception involved in government contracting. It is not what you might think. So this next article, though, is in the Word in Tech. Crystal Dynamics announces the next Tomb Raider built in Unreal Engine 5. If the tech demo of Unreal Engine 5 is what's going to be powering this and everybody uses it to its full extent, then graphics are going to be taking a massive leap forward, including generation of terrain. So I think everybody's going to love the next generation Unreal Engine. Buried at the tail end of Epic Games' State of Unreal presentation was the news that Crystal Dynamics is working on a new entry in the Tomb Raider series. Everything is just going to get hyper realistic, and physics and lighting are going to get better. Let's click the link and just take you over to The Verge. Ash Parrish is the author of this article. It's just characters are becoming more and more real. So I can't wait for VR to be this hyper realistic. Let's see here. Tomb Raider launched on the original PlayStation in 1996 and has spawned numerous sequels, a reboot, 3 movies, of which the 2 Angelina Jolie movies this author maintains are good. That's funny. It's been about 4 years since the last Tomb Raider game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, launched to tepid reviews, and it's still not known yet if the new game will continue where Shadows left off. Yeah, we will see. Crystal Dynamics wasn't the only studio gushing about Unreal Engine 5. Developers from Gears of War maker, The Coalition, and The Witcher studio, CD Projekt Red, talked about how UE5 makes their development processes easier. Yeah. It's going to be possible to do, from my understanding, more automated generation that is still dynamic and destructible. So let me continue on. The next article is in the Marvel channel, and it's titled Researchers Discover Bacteria Capable of Killing Fungus That Causes Yield-Reducing Diseases in Sugarcane. A study conducted at the Brazilian Center for Research in Energy and Materials has discovered that 3 strains of Pseudomonas bacteria can inhibit growth and even cause the death of the fungus responsible for pineapple set rot, a disease that attacks sugarcane, especially in the planting season. Take a look at the article. It's over at phys.org, and it's written by FAPESP. Interesting. Okay. The results were reported in an article published in Environmental Microbiology, a journal of the United Kingdom Society for Applied Microbiology, and could serve as a basis for the development of biological fungicides, or fungicides, it depends on how you want to pronounce it, as an alternative to the chemical pesticides currently used to combat the disease. Do you want Umbrella Corporation? Because this is how you end up with Umbrella Corporation. You use a strain of bacteria to destroy a growth of some kind, and then what comes out of it on the other end is some sentient entity that turns Spider-Man into a symbiote killing machine. I'm just going to continue on. The next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. This is the car that I actually want, maybe in a different form. I haven't actually seen it yet because the one that I want is from a company called Canoe, and it's called a Canoe. And this is called a Canoe, and it says, when astronauts finally return to the moon from NASA's Artemis project, their journey in the launch pad will be fully electric. The space agency has been looking for a replacement for its 1980s era Astrovan, and this week it awarded a contract to electric vehicle startup Canoe. So I'm going to click this link, and I'm hoping that it's the small Canoe, and it is. Yay! Cool. I'm not sure if I've shown this on the stream or shown anybody. um, other than people close to me here. Well, anyway, this is an arstechnica.com article written by Jonathan M. Gitlin, and it says here, Canoe wins NASA's Artemis crew transport vehicle contract. So to me, that means that this car is going to hit the market. Please hit the market. I want this vehicle. So it says the agency said it would consider both commercial and non-commercial vehicles, but that the crew support vehicle or crew transport vehicle must produce zero emissions and be designed and built according to current federal vehicle safety standards. The vehicle also needs to be able to carry a driver, 4 suited up astronauts, and 3 extra personnel. So you're not going to be able to see it on the podcast, obviously, but this thing here is the Canoe. And it basically looks like, I don't know, like an Astrovan and a VW bus from the 70s had a child and they were really into Star Trek. And it's just really cool. But what's just as cool about it is you can, depending on the model you get, it could be a truck, not a fully enclosed van. It just has windows all over the front half of it. And it's just really neat. And I've seen the inside of it and outside of it, and I want one. So it says here, at the time of the announcement, we thought an electric conversion of an existing Airstream Astrovan might be the simplest solution, but NASA evidently felt that Canoe's proposal was preferable. An eagle-eyed Reddit user spotted the $148,855 award on April 1st. That's interesting. That is not by any stretch how much the Canoe costs. So maybe by the time it does get released, we'll see. But it says here in the article that Canoe was founded by former Faraday Futures employees, and it originally planned to build a subscription-only van before a management change. By the way, Faraday Futures had another, if I recall correctly, had another electric vehicle, and it never came to fruition. Although I think Faraday Futures still exists. I'm not sure if it's been neutered because everybody who was doing that project left for Canoe. But I can look into it later, or you can. But check out the Canoe. It's CANOO electric vehicle. So I got 2 more articles. This next one is in the Hatch Ideas channel. Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng orders scientific review of fracking impact. Senior Tories are calling for an end to the ban on shale gas extraction to help secure energy supplies. This is a BBC News article, and let me scroll down here and see if I can find who the author of this article is. I can't see it. Anyway, fracking was halted in the UK in 2019 amid opposition from green groups and local concerns over earth tremors. But senior conservatives have been calling for a rethink in recent weeks. I had a conversation today about fracking. So prices were increasing for fracking, and then, prices were increasing for fuel, for gas. And suddenly fracking came into existence, and prices in the United States stabilized for about 4 years. And then plummeted briefly and then picked back up. And since the pandemic, they've been slowly increasing until Russia invaded Ukraine, and then it spiked. And so now prices in the United States are over $4 a gallon, closer to $5 now. And in the UK and elsewhere, they're going even higher. They've always been high in European countries. Anyway, for whatever reason, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I understand, I guess, why, because it has to be imported, and not every country has a whole bunch of land that has a whole bunch of oil and natural gas and whatnot in it. But for whatever reason, it's like wildly outstripping what it costs in the United States. I'm really shocked. But I guess where profit can be made, it'll be done. I mean, the infrastructure is there. I don't quite get why it's still expensive based on the gallon to liter exchange rate and equalization. Liters turned into gallons makes gas seem like it's $12 a gallon or $15 a gallon. It's really weird. So I understand your pain. I wish you didn't have to do it. Once we all switch over to electric, hopefully it becomes a non-issue. But again, we shall see. And I have my issues with electric vehicles and green energy in general. So if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that too. So what's going to happen with fracking? Looking into it, they'll probably find out that it probably stabilized pricing and allowed the local governments to subsidize the pricing and stabilize that industry. How I feel about it is you can't get subsidies and record profits and raise prices all at the same time without society realizing that it seems like it's predatory pricing, price gouging, profiteering during times of woe. It just, to me, it seems like it's sociopathic to do those three at the same time, let alone two of them. Again, in every episode, I come across feeling like somebody's going to walk up to me and say, "You are very naive. You're the mayor of ohmTown. How can you be that naive? I mean, you're the mayor of a town, for crying out loud." Anyway, let's go on to the next article. This next article and the last one for today is Lexus teases its first electric vehicle, and oh no, it's got a steering yoke. I will never understand why anybody puts a steering yoke in anything. This is not an airplane. Although I do drive like I'm flying low. Never mind. If you're a police officer, please don't give me a ticket for speeding. So it says here, Lexus, the luxury automaker owned by Toyota, announced that it'll reveal its first electric vehicle on Wednesday, April 20th. And it released two teaser images, one of which, we regret to inform you, features a steering yoke. I won't even get into this. I'm just going to click the link and show you. Now, I tend to like the whatever the possessive of Lexus is, design. Its industrial design is neat. I like it. I have never been able to justify purchasing a Lexus. I don't care how comfortable they are or how soundproof their interiors are. I just haven't been able to justify it. Well, at any rate, an electric vehicle with a steering yoke is the fastest way to get me to continue to not consider a Lexus. In a sense, it's not surprising. Toyota's next generation long-range EV, the BZ4X, will also come with an optional yoke when it's released later this year. The automaker appears to be taking its design cues from Tesla, which included a yoke in the Model S Plaid. The BZ4X will also come with a standard steering wheel and system for those not interested in going full yoke. Never go full yoke. That's the only two pictures in the article. So if this thing has a cruising range of 434 miles, I'm in. Charging, though, if they don't get the next generation supercharger to charge this thing, I will be frustrated out of my mind. I hate the idea of spending 15 minutes filling up my car with electricity, let alone 30 minutes, 2 hours. Just get me to 80% in less than 3 minutes and I'll be cool. But you better make every single supercharger available within that distance, whatever it might be. 80% of 400. So around 250 miles. There better be another charging station that can fill my charge up to 80% again within 3 minutes. Just to be competitive with gas. I need that reliability. And we're not talking about the other issues that I have with electric vehicles and defensibility. But again, we can talk about that another day. I have plans for expanding my broadcast sessions starting in about 2 months, and so I will probably start streaming 2 to 8 hours depending on schedule and the day. And so I'm working all of that out. And so if you are interested in that kind of thing, drop me a note. Be sure to follow me here on Twitch. Be sure to download the podcast. The podcast is this show, but just audible form. So leave a review over there. That'll help me. Not many people are, well, nobody's left a review, and I hope that you really like this show. It is just the news and some opinion and context added by me. And sometimes I hope that people aren't getting this news already and they're just bored out of their mind and hanging out with me. Or my voice is soothing you to sleep. Either way, happy that you're here, but let me know that you're here and follow, and then come in and chat with me whenever you want. I am here every day at 6 p.m. until 7 at least. And with that, I'm going to take you to the front page of ohmTown. And like always, when you click on that logo, it'll refresh the page, as well as all of the other subordinate pages. All of the channels have new news. All of the categories get refreshed. Go and check it out, and then come on back tomorrow at 6 p.m. And with that, I want to thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.